Ms. Lee, let's go into another topic that I know is still on the minds of many Davenport residents. And that's the death of 3 people that happened when an apartment building collapsed on May 28th, 2023, marking one of the saddest days in Davenport history. How would you assess Davenport's response? And as mayor, what would you do if the community faced another similar tragedy?
You've got to come out and be honest with the people. That's the most important thing. If we had not had some citizens doing Freedom of Information Act, we wouldn't have known anything, including as members of council, because I was on council at the time. And I also spent a lot of time with people outside. We have got to be more open, honest, and have solutions, not have emails that come out and say the building's coming down tomorrow, when you know that there's going to be litigation about that problem. So I watched and attended the press releases. I was out with the people. I watched what happened. I watched the dogs run on the rubble 5 days after it collapsed in 90-degree heat. And I'm concerned that I know that there were people in that rubble, and I'm concerned they may have still been alive for a short period of time after they ended up in the rubble. We need to be more responsive and open.
Mr. Gordon, assess the response to the building collapse and your plans if you face another tragedy.
Yeah, it was a horrible day. My wife and I lived in downtown when it happened. Happened to be, see the aftermath in about 15 minutes of it happening. So definitely a horrible day. I think where the city was challenged perhaps was in its response. I think there were some challenges in terms of communication and the messages they were sending. They caused some confusion, and so I think that's where I would want to focus as mayor, if anything ever similar like that would happen, is what is that communication plan, and are we communicating accurate information? And don't call press conferences if you don't have specific detailed information to give to the public that's going to be relevant to the situation. So, and I know that the city has taken a lot of heat for this, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that there was a slumlord that cut every single corner he could on this property, and has now fled to Florida and changed his name. And I think that's disgusting. And we shouldn't forget, the city did what they could, and it was in a horrible situation to try and make the situation as good as it possibly could. But don't forget, there was a slumlord involved in this, and he's the person that we should really focus on.
May I respond?
Yes.
Okay. I believe we know that there were 74 outstanding violations and 2 orders of evacuation that the tenants never got. Who was responsible for taking care of the tenants? I believe the city has a reasonable need for care for the people who are in there, knowing about those violations. So I have a concern that we were not only not open enough for the public, but also not open enough for the people who live there.
Thanks.
Just real quick. Real quick on that point. I think one of the toughest decisions a city can make is whether to vacate a building, because we did this several years ago in some of those apartments up in north central Davenport, kind of behind All Ford, where we vacated those, not necessarily because they were imminent to collapse, but because there was health and safety issues. The city took some heat for displacing hundreds of residents and trying to find them places to stay temporarily. It's a very tough decision. I'm not making excuses either way. I'm just saying it's one of the toughest decisions the city can do, is to vacate an apartment building with hundreds of residents.